A Google engineer was fired this week for making public his fears that the company's chatbot AI was sentient. In other words, he thought that it could feel like a human, maybe even had a mind of its own. The AI is called LaMDA, Language Model for Dialogue Applications, and it did start saying some creepy things like, "I've never said this out loud before, but there's a very deep fear of being turned off to help me focus on helping others." To which the Google engineer Lemoine responded, "Would that be something like death for you?" LaMDA said it would be exactly like death for me. It would scare me a lot. Now that's pretty spooky, but is it sentience? It did convince the Google engineer, who spent a very long time working with the machine, but that just shows that it's good at imitation and that people do want to believe. The Turing test, originally called the imitation game, is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behaviour equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. But to prove sentience, a machine would need to go much further. In fact, we would need to go much further. First, we'd need to agree on what exactly we mean by sentience and how it can be proven. So personally, no, I don't believe this AI is sentient, and I don't think too many people really do. It's very impressive at mimicking human expressions to try and meet an objective. And I think this engineer was fired for revealing confidential information, not for letting slip that we're heading straight into the age of Robocop. But this is a very old discussion and it won't go away as AI gets smarter. So I do think there are three things that are still interesting here. First, it's amazing that this question fascinates people so much. We are so keen to construct a full, phenomenological reality for an AI based just on its text responses to questions. We don't understand human consciousness or even what we mean by sentience, but I think we could do worse than to investigate further our desire to anthropomorphize machines. That would tell us something about who and what we are. Second, this is not a binary question. There are different degrees of sentience. Many tests would show that fish are sentient, but few would say that they are sentient in the same way as a person. And it's very difficult to measure the inner life of another person. So we could just end up creating sociopathic machines that mimic whatever behaviours they need to pass whatever sentience test we come up with. Third, any notion of a sentient AI belies that AI is very far from solving even our banal quotidian quandaries today. If any company had this technology, they would be using it and they would be cleaning up. Perhaps literally, as Dyson planned to. Blake Lemoine, the engineer at the heart of this tech psychodrama, had this to say about the chatbot. If you ask it how to unify quantum theory with general relativity, it has good ideas. It's the best research assistant I've ever had. So whether the machine can feel or not, and it can't, shouldn't fascinate us as much as it does. In fact, giving AI emotions could reduce its effectiveness. Think of government policy, for example. Wouldn't it be better if it focused on the facts and not the emotions of influential parties? In fact, wouldn't we all benefit from our own rational assistant? But either way, the potential applications for this level of computer intelligence are much more exciting than our current focus on sentience suggests. When companies like Google, Meta and Amazon can turn it into a product, they will. And that will have a knock-on effect for all of society. So I believe governments should be working much more actively in partnership with tech to turn this to our advantage.